Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Riley. I am with the Merritt team at Pearson Smith Realty, and I am a real estate agent. I am also an Army spouse of 20-something years. My husband is actually a retired Army, still working for the government, still working for the Army in a GS capacity, so still connected there. What we wanted to do today is just go over some of the highlights of the VA loan benefit. Believe it or not, there are still folks out there that don't really know what it's all about, and it's such a great benefit to active duty veterans and retirees that we wanted to share the information. So with that, I will introduce my awesome co-host, Marcus Fields.
Hey everyone, good morning. Hope everybody's having a great day so far. I am a 16-year veteran in the mortgage industry. I have worked for small brokers. I have worked for pretty decent sized regional banks. I've also worked for the largest credit union in the world. And now I am with Academy Mortgage, and I've been there for going on 3 years. And it's been a blessing for me. So I look forward to helping people of all walks, credit situations, different financial desires, home desires. I just look forward to helping people do good things in their lives when it pertains to finding a mortgage and finding the right financial product to meet the needs of their family. Sometimes it kind of works against me, where I treat people like family, but I can only be me. And sometimes people say, I want to keep it more professional. Okay, absolutely, keep it professional. And that's what I am. But this is not just a house, it's a home. So I try to make it, very personal. So with that being said, that's me in a nutshell. And I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. So Jen, let's fire it away.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. So as I said, primary objective for doing this webinar was to empower you guys to know what the basic steps in the process are. It's super easy. You'll go in knowing what those steps are and can go through them with confidence to ultimately reach your goal of being a homeowner and get that home of your dreams. We hope that you find this information valuable so that you can share it with others. We are always available to answer any questions. Contact information will be at the end, or you can feel free to share the recorded Zoom link that we'll be sharing after the webinar as well. So with that, thank you, Marcus, for sharing the slides. So here we are. Oh my gosh, I want to buy a home. So what's the very first step that you need to do? If you're a spouse watching, you need to prod your spouse to get their certificate of eligibility if they've not already done so. So you'll hear that. You'll hear that phrase often, your COE, your certificate of eligibility. So there are basic qualifications for that. You have to meet the eligibility requirements, which is tied to length of service, whether active duty, retiree status, veteran status, etc., for all branches. So we actually do have a slide of that. Marcus, can you pull that one up real quick so they can see that table? Marcus, are we experiencing technical difficulties? Okay, not a problem. I will just tell you. So basically, there is a wonderful table, and va.gov is going to be one of your best resources. Hi, Marcus. I lost you for a little bit. And I can't hear you. You're muted.
I have no idea what just happened.
Okay, no worries. No worries. It's the weather. Just blame it on the weather. It's fine.
All right.
We have crazy weather.
You still recording?
We are still recording, yes.
All right, let me go back to this. Can you see this?
I can see you.
Can you see the presentation?
I cannot see the presentation.
Okay.
Okay. We're live, folks. We're live. There we go.
No
Awesome.
problem.
Thank you. So as I said, va.gov is an excellent resource for all things related to all of your benefits. And obviously the VA loan benefits. So that's where you would want to start for your COE. Marcus, if you can move to the table, the core requirements table, so that they can see that real quick.
Did you already show the COE while I was gone?
No, we just touched on it. So here you see it's the table for core requirements based on service and active duty requirements. So obviously, you know, most people are going to fall in, you know, the latter half, you know, after September 8th, 1980, either peacetime or wartime is addressed in there. For the most part, everyone on here is active duty. So 90 days continuous service. And it's a very easy to get that process started. Again, va.gov, or you can go to ebenefits.gov and start the process there. In addition, your awesome lender should be able to get that for you. Marcus is able to reach out and get that COE for you as well. So with that, we will move on to, actually, Marcus, can you go back one screen and just show them? I know you're going to get into it a little bit more in detail, the COE. Perfect. Thank you. So this is an actual person for a loan that he was working on, and you can see what it looks like. There are lots of calculations and formulas of which I know nothing about. That's not my lane. And it will determine what your eligibility is. So with that, Marcus, I'll turn it back over to you. You can go over the VA loan in a nutshell.
Sounds good. So the VA loan is one of my favorite loans to do, actually. I think dealing with military personnel is a pretty cool thing. My grandfather served in the Army. My uncle, I have an uncle that served in the Army, another one that served in the Air Force for 30 years. And I have a host of friends that are, active duty and or separated. So it's a great opportunity to help families. And it's usually you're dealing with some sort of transition period where someone has been deployed. Jen, you call it TDY, right? So, they're in a different area trying to move the family in. And it's a lot of moving parts. And I love, putting the pieces of the puzzle together to make it all successful. So one of the kind of the factor that really points out, number one, it's got to be your primary residence. Can't be investment or second homes. The other thing is that you can use the VA loan on a repeated basis. So if you were living in Texas or Illinois, but then now you're moving to Virginia or Maryland or DC or somewhere else, then you can use the VA loan again. Now, you can even have multiple VA loans at the same time. That's a myth that you can only do it once, or you can't have multiple loans at the same time. The way that you actually are able to do that is that we look at this certificate of eligibility and we find how much entitlement is tied into that previous property. Okay, so that $40,000 right there is tied into the previous home, and this gentleman was going to have to make a small down payment on this new purchase of over $600,000. Now, how do we find out the amount that you'll actually have to make in terms of a down payment? Is what we call the VA worksheet. We put in some information about the sales price, the county, the year, how much entitlement is tied up, and then it'll tell us whether or not that service member has to make a down payment going forward. Some other features, and again, let me just kind of go back. The certificate of eligibility pretty much tells us everything that we need to know about this service member and how we can proceed with the mortgage loan. This loan is a government loan. Sometimes lenders can't really get those done as effectively as a conventional loan because it's a government loan. When you're dealing with the government, you've got a little bit more paperwork sometimes. But one thing you definitely have is a special fee. If you look down here, FHA has a monthly insurance premium. USDA has a guarantee fee. VA doesn't have any fee that you pay monthly, but there is a special fee called the VA funding fee. If you're using your VA loan for the first time, what's going on, Matt? If you're using your VA loan for the first time, it's going to cost you 2.15% of the loan amount. How do you pay that? You can either roll that into your loan, or you can pay that as part of your closing costs. 99.99999% of service members, they actually roll that into the loan. I've only had 2 people, I think, in 16 years that have actually paid it as part of the closing costs. If this is your follow-up time or subsequent use, it's 3.3% of your loan amount, which again can be financed or paid at settlement. If you have a service-related disability, that percentage of disability can make you exempt from having to pay this funding fee. Now, where do we find that? Answer is certificate of eligibility.
On your COE.
That's right, Jen. Thank you for answering. You're such a great student. It's right here, the funding fee. It'll say exempt, or it'll say non-exempt. Again, this funding fee also shows the branch of service, so where this gentleman served. And then if you see at the top where it says exempt, then usually there's some sort of disability pay. And then you can see down here that there is compensation connected to the service-connected disability compensation of $16.69 a month. So everything kind of works together for the good of this service member. Okay. Again, you don't have to pay anything each month for this loan. You do pay it one time. One of the great benefits to this loan program is that the guidelines are very flexible. The interest rates are very, very good. They're some of the lowest in the market. When you get down to how much the seller can give you towards your closing costs, you can get about 6% from the seller. The average of what we see is somewhere between 2.5% and 3% in this market. Jen can speak more to that. Now, how much of a loan can you get? Well, it's based upon the county of the property that you want to purchase in. So the county and the state, wherever the subject property is, in this area, all the way down to around Fredericksburg, the DMV area is what we call it. The max loan amount is $726,525. You can get that total loan amount, and that will buy you, what'd you say, Jen, about 85 to 90%, maybe more than that, of the homes in this area?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So with a max loan amount of this amount, you can do this without having to make any down payment if your situation lines up right. Now, here's the other thing. If you find a home that's $800,000, then you can still get that home and do a VA loan. But then the max loan amount is $726,000, and then if you got a new loan amount of $800,000, the difference, let's say it's $75,000, $74,000 and some change, you have to make a down payment that's equivalent to 25% of that difference, of that $74,000. Okay, and then you can actually move forward. So it's still very easy. Again, the guidelines are very flexible. Your debt to income ratio in this market, with most programs, if you stay around 45% of your debt to income ratio, and we're talking about your gross monthly income, if you stay around 45%, 50% in some cases, you can get almost any loan that's available in this current lending environment. However, with the VA loan, you can actually go higher. If the loan makes sense, the loan can get done. Academy is a make sense type of company. So we're going to look at the entire picture. Again, flexible guidelines. You can have a 580 credit score and actually obtain this loan through my company. Each lender can set the mark on, what credit score they will accept as the minimum. A lot of times you see about 620, we go down to 580. Of course, you're down on that lower spectrum of the credit bureau numbers. Your credit scores are down on that low. The range is 300 to 850. So if you have a 580 credit score, you're closer to the lower side. So lower credit scores mean a higher risk. You have a higher risk to the lender. You end up with a higher rate. And a lot of times what I end up doing is I'll do some sort of credit counseling to tell them what they need to do to improve their situation. And if you touch this or do that or bring that down or pay that off or what have you, then the scores will go up, and then you can actually obtain a better interest rate.
Can I just interject for 1 second on that, Marcus?
You sure can.
Credit counseling is very important. If someone is considering purchasing a home for the first time and you're not sure of where you are, you checked on Credit Karma and it says this, partner with Marcus and look at what you really are at. And if doing those tweaks and working for 3 months or 4 months on making some changes, getting a couple of things paid down, etc., it puts you in a better position for a better interest rate. And oftentimes it's not necessarily as long of a process as a lot of people think. So taking that first step to reach out and start the process, get the COE, and then talk to Marcus about that pre-approval process to know where you are and what you might be able to buy. And if you need to do what I call credit rehab, that's such a great place to start, because the more you know, the better prepared you are throughout the home buying process.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, the entire process, I've done loans as fast as 17 days. But on average, you're looking at, 25, 30-day process to get, any loan done through my company. But it doesn't take a long time. Some lenders are saying 45 days to 60 days. Absolutely not. We can get this thing done quick. So, it's just about being prepared. So, Jen?
Okay. So once you are pre-approved, and that's the second step in the process. The first is get your certificate of eligibility, and then Marcus can start that pre-approval process. And once you have that, then your agent can start showing you houses. It's really a very simple process. And when you have a great agent, like myself, working with a great lender, like Marcus, it really takes the stress out of the whole process. So a couple of things that we wanted to highlight about that process, and Marcus already mentioned this, is that in other loans, Marcus, I think conventional is like 3 or 4% back in seller subsidies is allowable, but with a VA loan, they allow up to 6% back in seller subsidies. So what that means is you can ask for closing costs from the seller. And, in this area, it's, typically anywhere between 2 and 3%. It does vary. The price of the home will also be a determining factor in what those closing costs look like. Right. So you're pre-approved, you have a great agent, and you're ready to look at houses. Once you go under contract, you start the next set of steps in the process. So it's very similar to a normal home buying process. There are going to be required inspections. I did put home inspection on here as required because for me, why would you not want to have a home inspection? But it's actually not required by the VA. So it differs from the VA appraisal. The home inspection, obviously through a certified home inspector, they're going to come in and there's 33 to 37 points that they look at and evaluate the home on. And this is a really great negotiating leverage point with your agent to the seller to negotiate any repairs for the home. And it's a very small amount to invest. When you think about the thousands of dollars that it could save you in over the long run if there are some big fixes that need to happen. The VA appraisal is another, and this is different. This is not the standard home inspection. A VA certified appraiser has to come to the home, and you'll hear this phrase often. And what they are checking for with the condition of the property is that it is safe, sound, and sanitary. Because the VA wants to make sure that you are in a good home and you don't have things like holes in the wall or exposed electrical outlets, that type of thing, mold growing in various areas, and termites. That's another inspection. So the termite inspection is actually something that you cannot pay for. It's the seller that would pay for it. Well and septic. Depending on the area that you're in, you might be on public, but if it's an older home and it's in a little bit more of a rural area, even say, for example, Manassas, there's a lot of
Fauquier County.
What's that? Fauquier County, absolutely. Stafford County, even Prince William County, obviously. The farther out you go, the more likelihood that you'll be on well and septic. And that is also something that the seller pays for. And again, back to the appraisal, this is something that the lender orders. And it's a VA approved appraiser. And this is not only checking for safe, sound, and sanitary, but it's also making sure that the property appraises for at least the value of your offer. Whether it's higher or lower than the asking price, it has to at least appraise for that amount. When we went through our home buying process, our home appraised for $1,000 over our offer price. So we were clear. Yeah. If it did not appraise for that much, say it appraised for $1,000 under or $2,000 under, then you then have the opportunity to go back to the seller to say, hey, appraisal came in low, would you be willing to go down that much? Or the home buyer has the opportunity to come out of pocket that much.
Right, right.
So.
And let me chime in real quick. For this appraisal, the appraiser has up to 14 days to complete the inspection report, have the report done, and upload it back into VA system. That way it notifies us. There are times where, depending on the volume in the market that we're in, it takes all of the 14 days. But on an average basis, we can see appraisals come back, even uploaded into the system within probably about 5 business days, sometimes 7 at the most. But it's a quick process. But again, it does have to be uploaded, and they have that window to do it in.
And we're going into spring market, which is typically the highest volume. Mm-hmm. So that's where we may start to see the time gap move closer to that higher end. So you're under contract, you're starting to work through your inspections. Again, this is for primary residence. So if you, for example, I have clients at this moment, they are renting on Fort Belvoir. They own a home that they use their VA loan benefit for in Texas. They were in it for several years, and when they came on orders to Virginia, they turned that into a rental. So it has become an investment property. So while you can't purchase outright an investment property with the VA loan, you can, after, I think it's, what's the minimum? I want to say 90 days. Then it could become an investment property for you because you can use that VA loan benefit multiple times. So this would include single family homes, townhomes, condos. They do have to be something that is VA approved. There are a number in this area that are definitely VA approved. Mm-hmm. The list for those is on the va.gov website as well. You can use a VA loan on foreclosures or short sales. It is typically just in general, those types of purchases take a little bit longer, but things that are not acceptable would be as is or distressed properties or fixer-uppers. So again, that goes back to the VA appraisal and is it safe, sound, and sanitary. But construction loans are available. And new construction is also available. That is a more recent change. There was a point in time where that was not something that the VA loan could be used for.
Yep.
But
And let me just chime in. So if new construction would be if you're going to an existing home builder, Kovnanian, Ryan Homes,
developments.
Development, Stanley Martin, whoever, and you can go in and they have the floor plans and things like that. You pick your lot, figure out your elevation and all of that, and you can use your VA for that. Construction loans, what we're talking about is you actually find a piece of land and then you find a Class A builder and then you get blueprints drawn up and then there's a draw schedule and then they come and knock trees down, they dig a hole, they pour the foundation, they put the frame up, do all of that. We're talking about different stages. The old school way of building a home, those types of loans or scenarios are available by using your VA loan. And guess how much you have to put down? $0.
We like that $0.
You like the $0? I could have done it like this.
$0.
I could have done it like this. Let's see. So Jen?
Okay, so we wanted to open it up to see if anyone had any questions. I know that there are some folks that I talked to recently. There are always one-off scenarios. For example, when we were buying our home, it was not the first time that my husband was using the VA loan benefit. So there were some extra steps involved. We had a certain amount because it was, and Marcus, don't get mad at me for bringing this up, because the VA loan is an assumable loan. And we were the second owner on that particular property. And then there was someone who assumed the loan from my husband. So unfortunately, that individual did not do well with that loan and, well, basically ran out on it. So there was this a dollar amount that was kind of hanging out there that took away from our full eligibility, and we had to get that taken care of, which didn't take very long at all. It was just one extra step in the process. So sorry, I know I wasn't supposed to bring that up, but we all have, there are certain situations that maybe are one-offs, and Marcus is happy to talk through those for you offline. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions. Marcus, are you able to see if there are any hands raised? I don't know.
If you all need to email us directly, there's our contact information. Maybe take a picture or screenshot it. Jen's cell, my cell, those are the best numbers to reach us on. Websites, emails, things like that. You can apply for a mortgage loan directly on my website right here, academymortgage.com/Marcus Fields. Take you 15 minutes. You can go to Jen's website. You can contact her if you have any additional information or text either one of us. Let me go to.
And Marcus has a great app that we can share with you.
Shout out the app. You shouted out the app.
I love the app. It's wonderful. The app is something that we can share with you. You can download it right on your phone. It has both our contact information. It has a direct link to the Sold with Merritt website, as well as Marcus. And what I love about this app is there's a mortgage calculator on it, where you are able to go in, put in VA loan as your financing option. And then for any houses you see, any sales prices, you can plug all your numbers in to get what your estimated payment would be. So it really is a great way to gauge kind of your comfort zone with different sales prices out there in the market today. So would love to share that with you. So any questions that you see, Marcus?
No questions just yet. We've got Matt Robinson. I just wanted to shout him out real quick. He is an insurance agent. So he works for Allstate. He's right in Chantilly. So he chimed in and is attending right now. Matt, we appreciate that. And if y'all have any needs for home, auto, renters, what have you, check him out. He's online, and great young man trying to build his business there here in the local Virginia area. No questions just yet. Uh, Let me ask you though, but I do have a question for you, Jen. Since you throw
Okay.
surprises, I'm going to throw a surprise as well.
Oh, Lord.
What was the toughest part about as a military wife, military spouse, as your husband going through the process and he's having to gather the paperwork and it's all on him in terms of providing DD-214, COEs, or statement of service, and you're trying to make sure that the house and everything concerning the sticks and bricks is what I call it. You're trying to make sure that that part of it is good. What was one of the most difficult pieces of going through the transaction, just trying to get it from start to finish, if there was anything?
We had a pretty smooth process. You know, for me, and this was, you know, we purchased before I became a real estate agent and had, you know, that additional level of knowledge of not only the process of real estate and, you know, buying a home, but also, you know, now I had to go through, you know, a certain level of learning for the lending process, but I'm not a lender. I didn't choose to be a lender. So I'll just say that, is that having a very accessible lender that was willing to answer all of my questions, and I had so many of them. I am not a math person. So for me, like, you really have to dumb it down and be able to explain it to me in the most basic terms. So that was very important, and which is what I love about you, because when I have questions and going through a particular contract and different points of the process, you're always there, whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning or, you know, we're emailing at 11:39 at night, to get something done for the client. That is what was most important to me, is that I really had that level of understanding, and that my loan officer was approachable and could respond quickly and in comprehensive terms.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, overall, it was a very smooth process, and we ended up doing the seller ended up doing a rent back, which moved our closing up versus, you know, delaying it. So that, and which was fine with us. We were pretty flexible. So, what I did miss was, and, you know, this is, you know, just my personal opinion, but our agent, we didn't have someone who was connected to the military, and that was kind of what was missing for me. Is I felt like there were different things in the process and even terminology that we use that it would have been great to have, you know, someone in the mill family, if you will, to be along that journey with us.
Yeah.
So, which is why I love being that person for my military clients.
Yeah, that's good. That's important, and that's one of the things that, again, it's in my world, from the financial perspective, we do use a lot of acronyms, and the military is huge on acronyms.
Yes, we are.
Even
so please make sure that you're already enrolled in DEERS before you try to get your COE. You can use that with your DS or your PAC.
Yeah, that, like, you took me into deep water. I have no idea what that was, but anyway, I mean, yeah, it's great that you have the opportunity to really share in your experience, and you have that connectivity with them. Even like the military alphabet, you know, the Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, you know, that
the phonetic alphabet.
Yeah, that's what it's called, phonetic alphabet. Okay. It's funny, I can't give you too much of that, but anyway, that's off topic. But yeah, definitely.
Everyone right now in their head is going through it. At least 5 people are going through it right now to see if they got it.
Okay. Maybe we should throw out a gift card or something like that and see who can get it back to us the first, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. And I love working with the families. It takes a special person to want to, kind of unplug from everything that's comfortable and
Mhm.
then serve our country, and be, in distant places sometimes where you can either know where people are or you have no idea where they are.
Mhm.
And but to make sure that home is not just a house, and it's still your safe haven. It's your place to always kind of just relax. And it's also generational. One thing from my parents, and I kind of touched on the construction loan. And although my parents didn't serve in the military, I did watch my parents actually build the house. So I watched them buy the land. I remember the driveway was just barely two lines, from a few cars going up and down into this lot. And then I remember the trees being knocked down, the hole being dug, and everything. And it's not just the house that I grew up in; it's our home. And with military families being so transitional, and then
It's
this
very important to have that.
yeah, this area, DMV area is such a transit area. It's important that we take pride in what we do, making sure that we connect with the heart of the person and their desires, giving them the breaking down the terms as simple as they need to be broken down, like you said about your previous lender. And just making sure that we do a great job, because at the end of the day, we're not dealing with robots, and we're not dealing with, service numbers or employee numbers. We're dealing with people, and we have to take that in consideration, and we do. And I appreciate that about you as well. So
Thank you.
um,
Okay.
I think
Well,
that's
it doesn't look like we have any other questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. Again, contact information is on the last slide. We thank you all for joining us, and uh, thank you for your service. So appreciative.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of the day, and please don't hesitate to reach out to either Marcus or myself with any additional questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.